By the way, did I mention I'm left-handed?
That's okay. That's okay. That just means you think with a different side of your brain than most people.
So for those of you golfers in the crowd, that's probably a deal breaker.
Hey, there's too many of you guys sitting over there that are left-handed. That's a problem.
No, you know what? That's an interesting concept. So let's try here and see how it works.
And I'm getting ready to fly it by Cynthia Moses-Ned in 2 weeks, who is the liaison out of the Department of Interior counties. And I've already talked to Dean's girls and Ilias, who said, we may be better off in the flat. So know that
What was his thought?
Well, he got, that's one way he gets it.
You know, the Corps of Engineers already does some stuff for wetlands and stuff. Where they contract them out and say, okay, well, actually they have the state. Say, as long as you're doing a good job, we'll let you administer our federal program. So there's some precedent for that.
Okay, I'm glad to know that too. Because I've had 2 or 3 retired BLM people, when I ran it by them, they'd say, well, in the overall scheme of things, the 2,000 square miles of BLM in Mineral County is a drop in the bucket. It's the precedent. But I will tell you, I think Mineral County could do a better job managing this public land.
You can do it timely.
And cheaper and faster. Okay?
And controlling your own counties.
That's,
you know, one of the big rubs for the sagebrush rebellion was if you turned over the whole 85%, it's like, as you know, it's a struggle to manage that, to get funding for that. And so that falls under the category, you want to kind of be careful what you ask for here. But on that scale, for that kind of like, it's like, why would you not want to try?
well, and you're looking at, I can do it, I can save the taxpayers money, Mineral County can save you money, we can get as good or better product done for less money and less time, and it would create jobs. I mean, it may not be, you know, and it would be people that lived here that did, and if you want to come do the archaeological clearances, you're going to live in Mineral County. You're going to have a business license in Mineral County, and we will contract with you to do that. So just put that in the back of your mind.
That's a good thought.
That's my plot.
I'm glad I came out.
Mark, if you get elected, you can contrary you want to get the yes-men to this term?
No.
No.
I'm thinking probably not. Actually, my, Dean slept in his office, and I can tell you from being a Nevada guy that I have a
That
pretty
didn't
good.
sound good. Dean slept in Harry's office.
No,
No,
in his office.
Dean
In his office.
slept in Dean's office. Yeah. But I've got one of those oversized cots, you know, because I'm not thin and not short, so it would be interesting. I mean, you don't do any of that stuff till September 14th if you need to. I'm pretty superstitious that way.
That's right.
But anyhow, it's like I said, I think it's important that whoever does continues to live into that, because that puts you next to me.
What is your stand on Yucca Mountain?
Yucca Mountain. Nobody wants a nuclear landfill. In other words, take it there and leave it, and that's what it's for. However, I think there were some lost opportunities by Senator Reid in this last budget cycle or whatever, where they zeroed it out. It's like you have now commercial reprocessing right now is going on in France. It's not commercially viable, the cost, but there is reprocessing going on. There is room for R&D on reprocessing to try to get it to the point where it is commercially viable. We're talking about jobs. There's nuclear safety issues. There's nuclear incident response training potential. There are a lot of things that you could use that facility for, and I think meet the mission of dealing with nuclear generated, nuclear power generation waste. And so that's again one of those areas where everybody's like, you know, they've got a threshold. It's like, no. Nobody thinks you ought to just put it there and forget about it. But there are opportunities to use the facility, I think. And by the way, there are several lawsuits going on by other states that have, you know, because
38 states have nuclear power plants.
And there are mill taxes being generated on disposal issues and things like that. So it is not, in my opinion, going away. So when the announcement is made, The budget is zeroed out, and it's okay. It's a legislative process. There's 49 other states. With all due respect to the majority leader of the Senate, nobody's ever been the majority leader of the Senate forever, and so that's gone until the next amendment, the next bill is introduced. So the issue is still very much alive. And so I think sitting there and saying simply no ignores the reality of the other 49 states, and it ignores the opportunity to go, we're not going to be a nuclear landfill, but we are interested in ways to participate and have a mission there that serves everybody's purpose.
Well, with Tennessee, I believe, they're the ones that are going to burn nuclear waste. They're making tremendous, or will make tremendous amounts of money.
Well, I'll tell you the thing that's got some folks' attention kind of riveted is this. There is an interim storage process going on right now, and there are 3 or 4 other states that are applying for it.
Yeah.
And it's, I think Texas, North Carolina, don't hold me to those, but there's 3 or 4 other states, and you're sitting here going, you know what, there is technology benefits, there are employment benefits, safety is something that I think is addressable, and so when you start saying, now you may have competition, and you talk about the political environment in Congress, where, you know, like I said, it's still 49 other states are like, and I got to tell you, the most recent one that ought to get some folks' attention is the Department of Defense at Los Alamos has a bunch of stuff sitting in sealed containers that were threatened by a forest fire.
That's right.
And you're sitting here going, you know what? Those on-site storage things at all those nuclear power plants, at
For
some
the
point in
second
time,
in 20 years, they've had it almost
Well,
burned
there's
out.
6 since last year.
at some point in time, those safety issues in those locations are going to take the floor also.
Right.
And so those people that represent those areas are going to be, and so I think the challenge is, if you want to talk about leadership, and it may be politically risky, but it's like, listen, you can give us something that works there in terms of R&D on reprocessing, because it's a valuable commodity if it's reprocessed. There's money to be made, safety training, incident response training, general R&D, you know what, there's opportunities there. And I think, in all fairness, we need to look at this.
Has the dubious honors of having more illegal aliens than any other state. What can you do?
Well, first of all, immigration has become phenomenally politicized. And I start with that because a lot of things, the more politicized they come, the less resemblance to common sense there is. When you talk about the 10th Amendment and states' rights, one of the things that nobody argues about is the federal government's responsibility to secure the borders. Okay? There's nobody arguing that that's a states' rights issue. I mean, it's pretty black letter stuff. And so you say, you know, if you think the problem is that you've got this population, you say, what are we going to do with them? Before you secure those borders, you don't know what the size or the nature of the population. You must, I believe, chop the wood in front of your sense, secure the borders. And say, well, what do you mean secure the borders? Like, well, you have personnel, you have technology, and you have physical improvements, capital improvements. It's like, figure out what works best where and implement that. If I've left something out, then fine, implement that too, but you must control the flow. Then, once the flow is controlled, then you've got access points, whether education, whether healthcare, whether employment. And listen, legal immigration is a good thing, but illegal immigration is the problem. So when you come through those access points, and it's like, if you're in the country illegally, then you know what? You have to matriculate into the country in a legal manner in order to start, you know, being part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And so I think when you go to those, and you sit down and you take that on a case-by-case basis and say, okay, here's what we're going to do with you based on what your status is. I will tell you this, and this gets back to the tell the truth. I don't know whether the number's 12 million. I don't know whether the number's 30 million. I don't know what the number is, okay? But I will tell you this, somebody who sits there and says to you, we should round those people up and send them back, for the cost of those sheer numbers.
Can't afford it.
And I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying 2 + 2 = 4. And so when you figure out what's in here, you've got to come up with a way to matriculate those folks back out, or if there's something that makes some sense for different treatment for somebody. But it's like that round them up and send them back thing, that might sound good. And I've had some folks say, you know what, you lost me there. And it's like, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that the resources are there or that the will is there, especially in this 14 months.
But there is one thing they can do on the legislative and the federal level. When I used to run WIC, I was not allowed to ask the citizens, and there are a number of other programs that are the same.